Local Government New Zealand 2019 Remits. I think we've got some additional information that has been circulated in relation to this, and Nicola Sherlaw has been helping out to bring this all together.
Good luck.
So we have got, oh sorry, I'm just trying to get to the right page. Oh. Sorry, I seem to have. Eh?
Pardon?
Oh, sorry, it's a supplementary paper. Sorry.
I'm not talking about batches now. Oh God!
Item
42.
It's not. Oh, sorry. Supplementary doesn't have a number.
Not that one.
No, it's not that one. Which one is it?
Number 2, supplementary.
That one.
Yep.
Ah, right. Okay. Okay, so that we confirm that we wish to submit remits to Local Government New Zealand Annual AGM on regulation of short-term guest accommodation, drinking water standard for nitrate, the ability for councils to introduce a 30k school speed zone. Now, I think that you would write to change that to a resolution, wouldn't you, to write to the Minister of Transport in that regard?
Yes, so it's been brought to my attention that the Ministry are currently looking at stuff around this. We don't know exactly what that is, but if the Council could, rather than do the remit process, just write to the Ministry saying that, stating our Council's position that we would prefer that all schools were 30k outside, that was consistent.
We just did that a couple of meetings ago. Didn't we?
No, we didn't. That's why it came to this.
No, this is additional to the resolution that we said we wanted to.
So we did do that?
Yeah.
I didn't think we did.
Can we check with staff?
No, I don't. Can someone? No, it was brought up, but we didn't do it.
Do you know if we wrote to the Minister of Transport about a 30k zone?
Yeah.
Nicola.
I'm the caretaker of this report, so I have a lot of friends behind me who are the subject matter experts on the topics that have been put forward for possible remits to LGNZ. As Councillor Curran has just correctly identified, that there is a piece of work currently being undertaken by the Ministry for Transport with a broad work program around speed management, and there are some proposals going to Cabinet at some point this year, at which point, and they include a consideration of a number of factors around school speed zones. The Council, as a road controlling authority, will be consulted on those proposals if agreed to by Cabinet, and the timing of this has been discussed earlier. The timing of these are that even if this remit was to proceed, the AGM would be after those proposals have gone to Cabinet. However, I've got my friends here because there is, as I think has been identified when the councillors last discussed this in March in relation to the Redcliffe School speed zone, there are a number of issues about about the position that we might advocate to central government.
So I think that, thanks. There's a good summary of where we are at the moment. So in terms of what the Ministry is looking at, the concern that we had a few meetings ago when this was discussed was about, I guess, Council advocating for something that we hadn't done the work into. And so, for example, as if we advocated for 30k speed limit outside schools, and then the government made that decision, then there'll be an expectation for us to action that. And we don't know what that cost is or whether that money's available. So we wouldn't be able to then turn around and say, well, we have no money or we could, but we don't have any money available to do that, because they'll turn around and ask us why we requested the change in the first place. So that was a concern at the last meeting.
Do you want to just go into the work that
So does that? Oh. Tim?
Yeah.
It's the disappointment in your voices, but we won't go there.
No.
But if it went through, And we would not be expected to suddenly, everything's 30k in front of schools. There would be a program of implementation. So to say that we would be caught short, you know, because there is a replacement, etc., with speed or anything, any equipment, isn't it?
Yeah, so obviously there would be a program, but we'd also have to find the money available to do that program. So one of the things that the I guess NZTA and the Ministry of Transport are trying to achieve out of speed management is consistent speed limits. So to change the whole country from 40 to 30 would be quite a big exercise. So there would be a time frame to do that, no doubt. But basically there's a whole suite of work that the Ministry is doing around speed management, and this is one part of it. So they're looking at outside schools whether the speed limit should be 30 or 40, whether it should be mandated at all schools and all roads. At the moment, there's a criteria that it has to meet to do a 40k speed limit and certain times.
Because I did have two other questions with that. One is, how many schools in Christchurch don't actually have 40k's in front of them?
I don't.
So
don't know. I've still.
And my final question is, when we're looking at these, you know, I just kind of wonder how we weigh that up, because Mount Pleasant School has 30k's, and that's absolutely fair enough because it's on a hill. We have very few schools on a hill, and yet Cashmere Primary, which is on a hill, and you could argue the roads are steeper, and the intersection it's next to is even, I would suggest it's quite dangerous. It was just kind of the steamroller of rolling out stuff just made it 40k's.
Yeah, but we don't actually want to debate the topic. What we want to do is we want to determine whether this goes forward as a remit to the conference or whether it is a letter to the Minister of Transport, and if it's a letter, has one already been written?
And I was just one of those questions, or two of those questions were, we've got to roll it out, but there are a number of schools that don't have 40k's, but we don't know what they are, so their rollout could be 30k's, so that would not be an extra cost of removing the 40 to replacing the 30, and we do have a process of replacement equipment as we go through. So.
But the issue is the remit or the letter.
Discussed at great length last time on the 14th of March, and we passed the resolution to write to the NZTA reviewing the variable speed limits with a review of reducing it to 30k's. So we've already done the necessary step.
Well, what I'm asking is, has the letter been written?
Well, I'm sorry, I wasn't aware of the resolution, so it'll get picked up. Yeah.
Well, what happens after meetings?
March?
13th, was it the 13th of March, was it? 14th of March, sorry. So there is a resolution?
Yes. 2.
So it doesn't say that I was doing it, it just says request NZTA. So
It's from the community.
my question is who's actioning that, and has it yet been actioned? So it doesn't need to be answered right this second, but
there was a subsequent conversation to that. I'm not sure about that, but you might remember that I was going to meet with the Ministry of Transport around speed management the following week. So that meeting had occurred, and so that's where I talked to them about the 30 versus 40 outside the school and that. So that was, I guess, the information we provided today is subsequent to that meeting we had with the Ministry of Transport after the council meeting.
so is it not NZTA?
The Ministry of Transport are doing the work, yeah.
Right, but so the resolution was incorrect when it asked for staff to write to NZTA?
I think prior to, I guess, finding out more information about what the Ministry of Transport are doing, there would have been an appropriate way to approach it by writing a letter to NZTA. But given that we now know the work that the Ministry of Transport are doing, that's probably the appropriate forum to.
So do we want to send a letter, perhaps from the council elected members, to the Ministry of Transport, asking them or encouraging them in their work in relation to looking at variable speed limits in front of schools, and particularly advocating for the 30k?
I think the Ministry of Transport would be the right place for that to go to.
All right, so can we just take out the ability for councils to introduce a 30k speed zone and put a separate recommendation saying, right to the Minister of Transport, the Mayor to write to the Minister of Transport, and I would like somebody, Stephen, to draft that from within the organisation. Request that the Mayor write to the Minister of Transport regarding the introduction, or expressing the Council's views on introducing a 30k speed zone for national implementation. Yeah, okay. So
we see that letter before it goes, or can at least a couple of us, or the ETI committee, or anyone?
Sure.
Cool. Thank you.
I mean, you can write it. In fact, if staff could work with the with Aaron and the ETI committee over the wording of it, then I'll just sign along the dotted line.
Brilliant. I love that.
Thank you. Right. So, do we need any further information, Nicola, or are we all good to go with the balance? Right.
They'd have a screening process that the remits have to go through.
Yes. Pauline?
Just on B, just ensuring that there were two parts to that. So there's the assessment of what are the current standards of nitrates level acceptable for drinking water, and also requesting that the government set up a nationwide monitoring program.
Yes, so bearing in mind that the report is a summary of the supporting information. The supporting information does meet that point.
Thank you.
Yep. All right, would someone like to move it? Dion, seconded Pauline. I'll put that motion. All those in favour say... Sorry? Sure.
You know, it's really, I just wanted to say it's really good that we're actually getting the short-term guest accommodation issue brought a little bit higher, because there is, I was quite surprised when we read the information that it's increased from the last time we had a report from 800 full-time houses that have been used for that style of accommodation to now over 1,200. So the issue is growing, and the paper that was written by the staff, I just wanted to say thank you, because it actually had a good amount of information in there that really did sum up the issue, and hopefully that will get supported by Local Government New Zealand, and then we can actually start looking at how we can address the issue and actually make it fair for all.
Or I'll put the motion. All those in favour say aye. Those opposed say no. That